if you're here for an in-depth review of the Himalayan that's been filmed in all sorts of terrain, weather conditions and across different continents, then go and check out Itchy Boots. But if that's not your thing and you'd rather watch a middle-aged Aussie bloke with a dad bod, then hang about because this could be fun. Before we start, if you're new to the channel and you like the content, then make sure you subscribe and press that notification bell. Now, the Himalayan has been a staple in the Royal Enfield range since 2016, when they decided to create an accessible subcategory in the adventure touring segment. It's been really successful, not just in India, but across the globe, as a purpose-built, smaller capacity adventure tourer that is built like a tank, but is really quite practical. I've been keen for a while to take a Himalayan for a ride. I've had this new version for about 3 weeks, so I'll let you know what I like, what I don't like, and answer the question, is the Royal Enfield Himalayan a good bike for a pie run? Okay, so the specs of the Himalayan are not that inspiring. It's got a fuel-injected 411cc air-cooled single that puts out 24.3 brake horsepower at 6,500 RPM. It has a wet multi-plate clutch and a 5-speed gearbox. Ground clearance is pretty good at 220mm, and the 41mm telescopic forks have 200mm of travel. On the rear we have a monoshock with 180mm of travel. It weighs 199 kilos wet, so it's really not too heavy for an adventure tourer, making it really easy for novice dirt riders like myself. The Himalayan has a big 21-inch front wheel and a 17-inch wheel on the rear. In terms of brakes, again, not really highly spec'd. We've got a 300mm disc on the front and a 240mm disc on the rear. Both have dual channel ABS, and a new feature of this version is that the rear ABS can be deactivated. Royal Enfield have included the Tripper navigation, which is a simple and intuitive turn-by-turn navigation pod. Other changes from the previous version include a new luggage rack and protection bars, and a new windscreen to house the instrument cluster. It's available in 6 colours: granite black, mirage silver and pine green, in addition to the existing colourways of rock red, lake blue and gravel grey. In Australia, the price for the Himalayan starts at $8,190 right away, and that includes a 3-year, 30,000 kilometre warranty. Okay, so the Himalayan is a bit of an odd one. I'll be honest, initially I really didn't think that much of it, which was a little bit disappointing because I was really looking forward to having a go on it. But when I started making a list of what I liked, my likes far outnumbered my dislikes on this bike. I think first up is the price. At just over $8,000, it seems like an absolute bargain for a bike that will pretty much do anything and is not trying to be anything that it isn't. It's a simple, all-purpose motorcycle with enough tech to keep things safe and practical, like ABS and the Tripper navigation. The ergonomics are great and it's really quite comfortable. The seat on this one is on par in terms of comfort with the seat on the Meteor. It has long travel suspension and pretty high ground clearance, making it really good if you decide to take it on some dirt roads or off-road. And because it's relatively light, it's pretty easy to handle. You're not going to set any speed records, but there's enough power for riding on sealed roads, although it is a little underpowered if you're going to be going on a freeway for any period of time. The 15-litre fuel tank, combined with it being extremely economical to run, means that you'll be needing a brake well before you need to fill up. And unlike quite a few bikes that I've ridden, it actually has a fuel gauge, although it's not that accurate after it hits about half full on the gauge. The Tripper navigation is a really nice addition on such a cost-effective bike. It works well enough, although it's not quite as nice and intuitive as its competitor, the Beeline, which I've been using for a while on some other bike reviews that I've done. But the fact that the Tripper is built in and ready to go as soon as you download the app means there's no mucking about with additional mounts or quad locks. The switchable ABS is really good when you hit the dirt. Like all Royal Enfields, the Himalayan is simple. It's a no-nonsense bike that's not laden with tech, which of course keeps the price down. There are no rider modes or traction control. It's a simple bike that's built tough, which if you're going to take it off-road is a good thing because I reckon it's pretty much unbreakable. My favourite thing about the Himalayan is not something that I'd thought about initially, and that is if you're a content creator or enjoy doing some filming on your rides, then there are heaps of options for mounting a camera. I even use it as a bike to mount one of our cameras to to film some overlay of another bike we were filming. That rear rack with my Cine saddle was absolutely perfect. When it comes to what I didn't like, there were only a few things, starting with the looks. The colourways are okay, except for the one that I had in that camo green paint scheme. I reckon you'd get over the novelty of that very, very quickly. I said before that I like the fact that it's built like a tractor, but it's also one of the things that I don't like about it. It's a budget bike, but it does feel like some of the parts, like the tripper, have just been an add-on, as opposed to being integrated into the instrument cluster. The brakes are adequate for the weight of the bike and the speeds that you'd generally be doing, but there's not a lot of feel, so it would have been nice to see some upgraded brakes on this version. It's got a fuel gauge, which is great, but like a lot of bikes, it seems to drop pretty quickly when you get under what is indicated as half full. But the main dislike I had was the engine. The Meteor engine is a fantastic little single, and the Interceptor 650 twin is truly incredible for the cost of that bike. I'm hoping in the next iteration of this bike that we see a brand new power plant that is on par with the other offerings from Royal Enfield. It feels like the engine on this one hasn't progressed as much as the other bikes. But I suppose you need to keep in mind, this is a 411cc single in an $8,000 bike. So I've decided to add a new section in these reviews, and I'm calling it the Grin Factor Scale. For me, the real value in a motorcycle is how much it makes you smile under that helmet. And even though sometimes I might look a bit serious when I'm riding, on the inside I feel like I'm all smiles. Now, like all good scientific research, you need a control group to measure the rest of the data against. So for me, the bike that I compare all bikes to in terms of how much it makes me smile is my 1984 BMW R6 Cafe Racer. Now that bike gets a grin factor of 10 out of 10. Now, just in case there is a bike that makes me smile more, you guessed it, with the grin factor scale, we're going to 11.
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
So, where does the Himalayan sit on the grin factor scale? Well, I'd say it's a solid 6. It's a good all-rounder without being a great off-roader or a great tourer, but it does everything reasonably well. If I was in the market for a bike specifically to take off-road, I'd probably look at something more purpose-built. But if I was after a bike that I was going to do a bit of everything on, commuting and also hitting a bit of dirt, then the Himalayan is a great option. It's the sort of bike that can easily be ridden on all roads or no roads. So would I take it for a pie run? Absolutely. While I had the Himalayan, even though we didn't have great weather here in Sydney, I did manage to get out on quite a few rides on all kinds of roads. And seeing as I don't have a lot of experience riding off-road, I thought it'd be a great opportunity to have a crack. I'm lucky where I live that there are quite a few fire trails and dirt roads, and in parts the track surface was pretty rough, but I had an absolute blast on the Himalayan. It didn't feel too much even for a novice dirt road rider like myself, and it certainly made me want to explore this type of riding a little bit more. After a few hours on the fire trails, I was starting to get just a little bit peckish, and it was time to get a bite to eat, and I had just the place in mind. So as you can see, yet again, I haven't made it to a pie shop, but I have made it to a mate Emu's place to pick up some brisket burgers to head home and have with the family. So that's it for the review of the Himalayan. Till next time, stay safe and enjoy your next pie run.